What was your biggest win that you would say in a boxing
Well,
career?
this is what someone just said, what was my biggest win. And I can't really say that, all of them were, all those I won were my biggest wins,
If you win, you still feel good about it.
You feel good about any fight, like if you beat someone. There's one, I suppose, I boxed someone named Sammy Irvin at Manor Place Bars. And on the way there, I was with my girlfriend and wife now. And because we went by bus then, we didn't have cars and things to take us. We travelled by bus to where I was boxing. And this chap came up to me and said, I've fixed it up, we're on third, I want to get away early. And then I realised he was the one I was boxing that night, this Sammy Irvin. Anyhow, I think I knocked him out in 4 rounds, something like that. So I went over to his corner after and said, is that early enough for you? So, so that made me feel good because I didn't like people, because to me it was being a bit flash and taking liberties,
Did you think anyone show off to them when they after you hit them
No.
mate?
No. Boxing was entirely different then. You didn't talk about people and run people down and say, I'm going to knock him out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because I don't like that now. That's not what boxing's all about. You should have respect for whoever you're boxing. If someone's got the guts to get up in the ring and box, and they deserve respect. You don't slag people off like they do today.
Do you reckon the boxing career has changed from when you was boxing till when this generation is boxing?
Yeah, it's changed so much, and it's the same with all sports. Money has spoiled it. As soon as television came in, boxers started getting a lot more money then, and they started fighting less. I mean, we were fighting sometimes once a week, once a fortnight, but now they have, 2 or 3 fights a year? So it has changed a lot, and the money is so much different now,
Money changes everything.
It does.
Back when you was boxing, did you get how much these boxers would get?
Nothing like it, no. The most money I ever earned was £100 for boxing at the Royal Albert Hall. And that was the most money I ever got. I mean, when I topped the bill at the small halls and things, I would get about £60, something like that. But when I first started, I was getting £5 a fight. And you had a manager who took his 25%, and so you didn't end up with much. I mean, I would box, say, at the Mile End Arena, and my girlfriend used to come with me then when I was boxing. And they'd pay me out, and I'd get about £4 for the fight after the manager had taken his bit. And we'd go across the road into the Terminus Cafe, I think it was called, and we'd have hammock and chips or something like that, and all my money would be gone. So I'd earned nothing then. But it didn't make a lot of difference. I would have boxed for nothing, I think, because I liked it so much.
Did your wife ever have frights and nightmares and dreams of you really seriously?
I mean, when I first started boxing, I was winning all the fights, and she used to love it. It wasn't, and she thought there was nothing like it. And she would cheer as well as everybody else, go along with all the family, and they would all cheer. And it was a different atmosphere at boxing than it was a friendly atmosphere, and people would shout across to each other about the different opponents. And as I say, she loved it till my eyes started getting cut, and then she didn't want to go anymore. So that stopped her going. When she saw me get hurt, she was all right while I kept winning, but not when I got hurt.
It was interesting about the circus boxing, the boxing boots.
What was it? The boxing boots, how were they like?
Boots were great. I thought they were great. I think a lot of people said that you didn't learn a great deal, but the booths used to travel around with fairgrounds, and it was like a big marquee with the ring inside and a platform outside where us boxers used to stand there and dance about and show off a bit, I suppose, punching a punch ball and things like that. And the man who ran the booth, the Spieler, he would stand on the front and challenge people outside. Would anybody like to fight my boxers? And I'll give them £1 if they can last 3 rounds, and £5 if you can knock my man out, and things like that. So then someone would come up out of the crowd. If you were lucky, they would challenge you, and you'd come up and you'd go in and you'd box them. And then after the fight, he would say again then, this has been a good fight, show your appreciation for them, I'm going to let the boys go round with the hat. So then I'd borrow someone's cap or something, and the two fighters would go round with the hat, and people would put in coppers or sixpences and things like that, you know. So this was another way of earning money. And sometimes you could earn quite a bit. I used to go down to Epsom every Derby Day, and they had a big fair up on the downs there. And there I could get 4 or 5 fights in the afternoon, because people had lost their money on the races and wanted to get their fare home, and so they would come up and box us trying to win the money to get their fare home again. But it wasn't always straight. It was a bit like wrestling was. I mean, we'd have the booth, and this was the way you was going to earn money. So when you challenge, if no one came up, you always had someone in the crowd. Then they would come up, and they would challenge, and then you would put on what you called a G fight.
A what?
A G fight. It was a G fight. It wasn't a real fight. But some of these fights were better than the real ones, because you knew each other and you could do things. I mean, I used to box with one fella, and while we were boxing, we'd get close together and say to each other what we was going to do. And he'd say to me, hit me on the chin. So I wouldn't hit him on the chin, but you have your glove half open really, hit them just below the chin, and it makes a nice loud noise. And he would dive out through the ropes, as if I'd hit him on the chin and knocked him right through the ropes, like, and the crowd used to go mad over it, and all want to come back in to see you fight again, because you always challenge each other afterwards, like, you know, say, would you like a return? And
So do you understand what he's talking about?
Yeah.
So there was a circus, touring
Yeah.
circuses, they used to have fake like bouts, and real ones as well. They used to challenge people in the crowd.
Yeah.
oh yeah, if there were
It's very
real ones
entertaining.
there, you would fight them. But if there were no real ones there, you can't just shut down, because you'd earn no money.
Yeah.
So you had to keep the thing going, like, you
Yeah.
know. And as I say, some of these fights, it's like when you see All In Wrestling, some of the things they do are fantastic. If they were doing it real, they'd kill each other.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is what it was all about. But you still learned a lot off of each other, because it was like sparring in the gym. It was that sort of thing, you know.
I go sparring sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can't go for a bit now because like I crashed my motorbike the other day and my wrist. Like I haven't been for a couple of weeks now. And what was I going to say?
When you're sparring.
No, it's something else. Have you ever had a fight with someone out of boxing, but like they tried to like, you got into a little argument and it escalated?
Not once I started boxing. When I was at school, I did get into a few fights. I was a bit of a loner, really. I never belonged to a gang or anything at school. I was on my own most of the time. But I think a lot of it was to do with my name, because my name originally was Lucione.
Yeah.
I was Italian descent, so you can guess what they called me for short at school, can't you? They called me Lucy, and that's like being a boy named Sue, isn't it? You know, and people used to take the rise out of me in singing lessons, and I remember that when I was at school, and I would end up getting fights while I was at school. I would get into fights, but as I say, I was always on my own, and sometimes I've even followed someone home so that I could have a fight with them. If they had a bit of a gang, I'd wait till I got them on their own and then say, you know, it's just me and you.
Did you win? Like,
Yeah, I don't remember ever being beaten in a street fight. No. As a kid. But once I started boxing, I've never had a fight in the street or had a fight with anybody apart from in the boxing ring. Once I started boxing, it gives you that little bit of control, and you think, well, I don't need to do it, you know.
If you was to have when you was boxing, if you was to have a fight outside of the ring, would you have had to give your license back?
Well, I wouldn't have had to give it back. They would have taken it away from me. They would have taken it away from me, yeah.
You would have had to restart all over again.
You'd have to start all over again. You'd have a long period, and you'd go back and apply for your licence back again, and then you'd have to go up there and apologise for what you did and say you wouldn't do it again to get your licence back. But they were very strict with licence holders. It was the same with a lot of things then, like where I worked in Billingsgate, as a Billingsgate fish porter. You had to have a licence to be a fish porter. And if you did any criminal thing or stole anything or anything like that, you would lose your licence. And you couldn't be a fish porter again. So there was a lot of jobs like that. It remained, you know, it was up to you to behave yourself to do these things.